Hi, this is Chris Cunnane, Senior Analyst with ARC Advisory Group's Supply Chain Management Practice. Today I'm joined by Steve Banker, Vice President of Supply Chain Management. Steve, thanks for joining us today.
I'm very glad to be here, Chris.
So I know one of the key trends that you're following within supply chain management right now is around blockchain. Can you kind of give us some insight into what you're seeing in the market?
I think 2019 will be the year of blockchain and supply chain management. So in the fourth quarter, Walmart has mandated that their suppliers of green leafy vegetables use blockchain for traceability purposes. And in the drug supply chain, again in the fourth quarter, there is they have a problem around returns. So there's new regulations that when goods are returned to the distributor or manufacturer, they have to be traced. And so you're going to be using blockchain there. So it's going to happen. The interesting thing is, the more I look at blockchain, there has been so much said and written about it and hype. I'm just beginning to think it's just not that big a deal. It's just another messaging protocol with a bit better IT security and with an immutable record, which means that the record can't be changed. But, you know, an immutable record, if it's garbage in, it's an immutable record of garbage. So yeah, this is a year of blockchain, but the more I look at it, I think we won't be talking about it that much in a few years. It's just going to be another way we communicate data. And you, Chris, what are you working on?
So right now, one of my big areas of focus is all around transportation. So transportation management systems, transportation execution. And on the execution side, really starting to see the importance of visibility. So not just knowing, where a ship is or where a truck is, but getting down a bit more, granular into actual container locations or where actual products are. So we're seeing that as a big driver, especially when it comes to transportation execution with e-commerce's growth. Really figuring out that last mile of the execution is becoming increasingly important as well. The last mile is by far the most difficult and expensive part of the supply chain when it comes to making that delivery. So companies are really trying to figure out how they can transform what they're doing on last mile. So we're seeing a lot of interest in crowdsourced deliveries as a way to, not have as many trucks on the road. We're seeing a lot of companies looking at alternative fuels and also looking at route optimization to really reduce their costs as it comes to the final mile. So I think the transportation execution system market, specifically on the visibility side, is going to be a big growth driver within the industry.
Yeah, the other thing I've heard about is Uberization of freight. Is that what you're talking about as far as crowdsourcing deliveries, or are you talking about something different?
So on the crowdsourcing side, that's more going to be on the B2C side of things. Sort of the Uberization of freight, or the digital freight matching market, is really going to be more on the B2B side. So it's, someone needs to ship a bunch of goods, and instead of using, a contract carrier that they may have, they're actually going out and basically putting a bid out there in real time over an app, which is generally why people talk about it as the Uberization of freight. Right. So there's been a lot of investment money pouring into that space, and we're actually starting to see some of the bigger TMS companies are making sure that they're integrating digital freight matching marketplaces into their solutions. So I think, I was definitely a skeptic of the Uberization of freight for a while. It just didn't necessarily seem like it was going to be a reality, but it really seems to be picking up steam now. And when you see the big TMS guys sort of jumping on the bandwagon and bringing it into their solutions, I think it's hitting that point of the critical mass, if you will. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know one of the other things you're looking at now is really around supply chain networks. Can you kind of give a little bit of insight into that for me?
Yeah. So both blockchain and supply chain networks sort of fit into this idea of a digital supply chain. And I think this term digitization, it's a little bit overhyped. We've had ERP systems for a long time, right? And they turn manual pieces of paper into digital data. But in the supply chain, A lot of the digital data we get is from inside the enterprise. It's from a warehouse management system. It's from a transportation management system. And what supply chain networks help you to do is get visibility into a variety of different types of information, several tiers up a supply chain, for example, from a manufacturer and all the way out to the customer. So you can get what are consumers actually taking off the shelf, so you can do better demand planning. You can get inventory positions of your suppliers so that you can give them a better demand signal about what they need to make.
Great. Well, thanks for joining me today, Steve. So this is Chris Cunnane and Steve Banker coming to you from ARC Advisory Group's Orlando Forum. Thanks for watching.